Hey everybody, it's Paula here from the Excel Club. I hope you're all having a fantastic time at Excel weekend and are enjoying all the presentations and are learning loads of new cool stuff. In my presentation today, I'm going to go through some advanced charting techniques. But before we get stuck into the presentation, just a quick introduction. My name is Paula Guilfoyle and I am from Ireland. I am a mother of two. I'm a CPA accountant. I am an Excel lover and geek, and I'm also an MVP. In addition to being a CPA and an Excel geek, I also have a keen interest outside of this in blockchain technology and Web3. I have some contact details here on the screen. My website and my blog is theexcelclub.com. You can contact me on LinkedIn and on YouTube. I'm just here to share a little picture with you of the streets of Dublin. This is St. Anne's Cathedral in Dublin City, the city that I come from. So if you're ready, we will get stuck into some advanced charting techniques. Now, what I'm going to go through in this presentation is two different examples. In the first example, we are going to learn to use the choose function to select between data. And we're going to use option buttons on a chart to filter this data using the choose function as well. And then after that, we're going to use a scroll bar, and we're going to use this scroll bar with an offset function to create a dynamic range so you can scroll between different months on a chart. So let's have a look at some sample data. So the very first sheet that I have, we're going to look at the choose function with option buttons. So I have a very, very small table of data here. We have 4 products and we have the units sold by week for each of this product. Now we want to create a chart where the user can select between the products or the total and view this in a chart. This would be considered advanced charting techniques because we're going to use some 4 controls and we're also going to use the choose function. So we're going to start by looking at Excel's choose function. So I'm going to type in choose here. So what does the choose function do? Well, if we type in choose, we get a little screen tip that explains to us what it is that the choose function does. So the choose function chooses a value or an action to perform on a list of values based on an index number. So its syntax is index number and then value 1, value 2, value 3 and value 4. So let's say our index number is, we start with number 1. We would then, so we give the index number and then value for 1. So the value for 1 would be product. The value for 2 would be product 2. The value for 3 would be product 3, 4, product 4, and then a total. So if we just put in 1 here for a moment, and using this 1, we can then use the index or put in our values. So if we say product 1 for value 1, product 2 for value 2, product 3 for value 3, product 4 for value 4, and total. So now we've chosen number 1, so product 1 is going to come up. But if we come in here and change that to number 4, what do you think is going to be returned? Well, that's right, product 4 will be returned. So that is how we can use the choose function. So let's just start with putting a reference number in here. And we're going to reference this number to choose the data from here. So we're going to use this basically as a lookup. So we can say equals choose and our index number, and I'm going to lock in our index number, and then we can put in our product 1, our product 2, our product 3, our product 4, and our total. Close the bracket and hit enter. So now we have product 1. If we pull this over, we get all of the values for product 1, and if we change this value now to product 3, we get the values for product 3. So this is the data that we now want to chart. So I'm going to copy these. I'm just going to bung these in down here to make this really, really easy. I'm going to go to my insert ribbon, and on my insert ribbon, I'm going to insert a line chart. Now the line chart, the header and all has come into this to show us that it is product 3. Let's change this now and see if the chart actually updates. And we can see that the chart does quickly update when we change the numbers. But we don't want the user to be coming along and playing with this choose function. We want to give the user an interactive option to play with the choose function. And to do this, we're going to insert some form controls. Now, form controls are found on the developer tab. And if your developer tab is not turned on, you're going to need to turn it on. So to turn it on the developer tab, if you go to File, and in File, go to Options. In Options, you need to go to Customize Ribbon. And in Customize Ribbon, you need to scroll down and make sure this developer here is turned on. Once you have this clicked, you say OK, and your developer ribbon will then appear. Now from the developer ribbon, what we want to do is we want to insert some form controls. Form controls allow interaction on your charts, and they're different to ActiveX controls because they don't require VBA. So the form control that we are going to select, first of all, we are going to select a group box to put all these form controls into the one group box. The group box just makes it easier for working with these. Then we can insert our little option button. So I'm going to put in my first option button, and then I'm going to copy that and paste it 4 more times. So we can then we can line them up within our box. So to select each one of these, when you press on it, you need to also press Control to actually select the form control. I'm just selecting these to line them up a little bit better. So we move them around, get them all to fit. So I need to select all of them now, make them a little bit smaller because that last one down there doesn't fit in. So with them all selected, I can make them a little bit smaller. Then I can select this one and now drag this one up and fit it in here. Now selecting all of these again. So pressing Control to select each one. We can now align these within the box. So to do this, if we go to our shape format, in our shape format, we want to align the middle of these and we want to distribute these horizontally within the box. So now we need to format these and connect them to our choose button. So if we select the first one and we say Format Control. So in Format Control, you need to go to the Control tab. We're going to select this as unchecked. We're going to put in our cell link and we are going to link it to cell D11. Now D11 is the cell that we referenced for our choose function down here. So now we have it linked that one. We can go into our second one, Format Control again. Say it's unchecked, make sure it is linked. Let's select our third one, Format Control, unchecked. We also want to link it to our correct cell. We can select the next one then. Format Control, unchecked, make sure it's linked. And our last one then, we can select our last form control, Format Control, unchecked, and make sure it is linked. So now when we select each one of these, we can see our choose function updates accordingly to the next one, and our chart also updates accordingly. Now there's some formatting we now need to do to this chart and to the group box. So we can overtype the name in this group box. So let's delete what's written in there and we can type in select a product. So the user knows to select a product. Now the thing with these form controls is that you have to use the text options available. You can't do much formatting to the text that is there. So if you wanted to have your own text in here in a different format, you would need to use the likes of a text box. So I'm going to change the text in each of these as well. So I am going to say product 1, product 2, product 3, product 4, and so forth. Product 1. So now with the text changed in all of these, because we can't see the text, I'm going to select these again. And with these selected, I'm going to make them all bigger so we can actually see what the text says. We can also do some formatting to a chart. And when I'm working with a line chart, so I went into Format Data Series. If we go into our fill options, I'm going to show a smoothed line. I'm also going to add a marker to this line. So the marker options, I'm going to use one of the built-in options. I'm going to use this star, and I'm also going to change the size and the color. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so it stands out. And I'm going to put in a contrasting color of blue, of green into them particular markers. Now I'm going to add a little bit of shadow to the line as well. So if we go into our series options, I'm going to select this shadow down here just to add that little bit of depth to the chart. Now we can also add in some data labels to this chart. And if we add in the data labels, we don't really need the access to the chart at all anymore. So now we have created this visually effective chart with this element of interaction using form controls to quickly select between the charts, so we can see this data up here quickly updates, and we've also used the choose function. So we're going to hop into a second example now. And in this second example, we're going to look at dynamic ranges with a scroll bar. Now, the aim of this is to insert a scroll bar that the user can use to select how many months they want to see in the chart. So let's start by inserting our form control. So we'll go to insert, and in our insert, we are going to select our scroll bar. So I'm going to select a scroll bar, and I'm going to place this scroll bar right here. Now with the scroll bar selected, I am going to format this control. Now to format the control, we go into our control area. Our current value is 0. Our minimum value is going to be 1 because the least we want to show is 1 month. The maximum value is 12. Now why is it 12? So what we have in our actual data set is number of months, and we have the units sold for each month. There's only 12 months, so the maximum value is 12. The incremental change is 1, and the page change is going to be 0. Now we need to link this to a cell. So I'm just going to come up and link it to cell A5 and select OK. So we can see there now I've added that into cell A5, and we have the number 1 in cell A5. If on our form control now I click up, we can see this moves up in increments of 1 all the way up to the number 12. So now we can use this number here to select how many months that we want to show in our chart. Now we are going to create this dynamically, and we're going to put this into our name manager. Now I'm using Excel 365, and Excel 365 has the ability to spill arrays across Excels. What I'm going to demonstrate now is going to use the offset function, and the offset function can create an array of values. Now if you're doing this in earlier versions of Excel, you will not get a spill range. In fact, you will only get back one value. But it doesn't mean that that value is incorrect. It just means it's not demonstrating in Excel. That formula will actually work for you. So let's see what we're going to do. We want to display the months. So we want to display these months here based on how many months are picked here. So if we have 5 months picked, we want to display up until May. If we have 6 months we want to display up until June. We can use the offset function, as I said, to create our ranges. So I'm going to start with our month and then I will have our units. So the offset function, this looks for the starting point first, so the reference. So where is it that you want to start? So if we were to start in cell C4 and we lock that cell in. Now the reason I'm locking that cell in is because when we copy this into the name manager, it's really important that it's locked in. So how many rows do we want? Well, we only want one row of data. How many columns do we want? Well, we want. So how many rows do we want? Well, we can put in 0 for rows and 0 for columns. For our height, we want 1. This is going to be 1 column high. And the width, well, the width is going to be this 6 over here. And I'm going to lock this in and close our bracket and hit enter. Now we see there when we done this, we started in the cell here. And what it's returned for us in a spill array. Now, if you're not using Excel 365, you're not going to get this to spill like this. But we started in this cell here and we've got returned to 0 because it pulls back the starting cell. And that's really important to remember. So we can change this instead of C4 to D4. And now we see we have January, February, March, April, May, June. If we increase this, it comes up to July. If we decrease this, it brings it down to April. So let's have a look at that again. We use the offset function. The offset function first looks for a starting point. This is our reference where we're starting from. So we're going to start in cell D5 and press F4 on a Windows machine to lock that in. The number of rows that we want to move is 0. Columns is 0. The height is only going to be 1 row high and the width is going to be defined by our form control, and press F4 to lock that in and hit enter. So now we can see we have the values right up until April, and if we increase this, it also increases. So this is a dynamic array. Using this, we're now going to take these formulas and we're going to put these formulas into our name manager, and then we're going to chart them. So to put them into our name manager, we will first take our month. Let's copy this formula. From our formulas ribbon, we're going to go to define name. This is going to be month. And down here, we are going to paste in the formula that we selected. So then we need the units as well. So I'm going to take the formula for the units. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to my name manager and add new. Now I could have said define name, but this is units. And I'm going to paste in my formula here too. So now I have these values in as named ranges. Using the original data set, I'm going to come along and I'm going to insert a chart. And I'm going to insert a column chart. And I'm going to move this column chart down here and make it the same size as my scroll bar up here. Now these formulas here, we have now pasted them elsewhere. So we no longer need them on our spreadsheet. So we can remove these from our spreadsheet. And what we need to do now is link our spreadsheet to, or link our chart to those formulas. So if we go into our chart design and into select data, under units, we are going to edit this. And in here, we're going to delete back until the apostrophe mark. So you're keeping in the sheet name. Now I'm then going to press F3, and F3 is going to let me select the name that I've pasted in. So we say units and say OK. I also need to do the same for the name range. So in here, we're going to delete the cell references. We're going to keep it in the sheet name. Now, if you do delete out the sheet name by accident, click anywhere in the cell and just delete back to the inverted comma. Now F3 will bring up your paste names. We can select the month and say OK. So now using our scroll bar, if we come back, we can see that a user can quickly select the number of months that they want to actually view in the chart. Now we can do some formatting to this chart as well. So let's format the data series a little bit. And first of all, we are going to reduce this gap width. So I'm going to change that down to 50. I'm also going to go into my fill and I'm going to go to gradient fill. And in my gradient fill, I am going to select, that was my border, so I need to go to my fill. In my gradient fill, I am going to select this blue and I'm going to make sure that this has no border. We can then, on the chart itself as well, we can add in a trend line. So there we have a trend line now quickly added into our chart. We can remove the border from the entire chart itself. So format chart area, I'm going to give this no border. Now by giving that chart no border, if we go to our view options and when we remove our grid lines, we can see how smooth that chart looks now within our Excel spreadsheet. So that is my 2 charts for you today that uses advanced charting techniques. What we've done in the second one is we've used the offset function to create a dynamic range. This dynamic range we then used in our name manager, and we used these names as our series in the actual charts. We used it for both our data series and for our month labels. In the first video, we used the choose function, and we used the choose function to allow a user to filter a chart using form controls. So we can see here that the user is quickly able to filter the different products or the total. I really do hope that you enjoyed my presentation. I would like to thank Cristiano and all of his team for all of the effort that's gone into this weekend. The workbook should be available for you to download, so you can practice this if you want to practice it. Enjoy the rest of Excel weekend, and I will see you all again soon. Goodbye now.